Alright, today is our second day working on this project, so we've got to put another 60 minutes of work in. I am not putting 60 minutes of work in, I'm putting in 40 to 45 minutes of work in. I want you to look at my work and think about how can you push your work further and keep moving. A couple things I want you to pay attention to, how I use some of the same techniques in our paint along to build my painting, including the blue-gray eye, as well as building color on top of other color, constantly pushing and pulling. And I'm using some of the same techniques from the still life, slightly watered down or more paint if I want a nice crisp line, blending wet into wet to get great blends. So those are some things to look out for and think about. And one of the most important things, I always try and start with a plan. What am I going to accomplish today? And sometimes I go in a different direction, but I like to start with a plan. My plan today is nail down some of these proportions that I don't like on my picture, and I feel like they don't match in my painting. My eyes are too high and my chin's too pointy. I'm going to deal with this in two ways. I'm going to slightly lower the eyes using that blue-gray color, but then I'm also going to round out the chin a little bit and move it up. That way my eyes will get lower and my chin will be less pointy all at the same time. I'm going to start laying in those light colors on my face, and the first color I'm laying in, it is a little purpley, a little gray, but I'm just kind of laying it in to brighten it up. And I will start adding more color as I go, pushing and pulling back and forth, constantly revising the shapes that I see and how I see them. Using some darks to kind of trim that chin, fill in that hair a little more. Already I'm feeling better about how it looks compared to my picture. Using some middle brownish purple color to kind of fill some of those shadows on the light side of the face. Trying to get an even lighter color, but this time not so purpley, a little more like pinkish orange, so it kind of matches my skin, and I can leave some of this color possibly as part of the middle tone if it stays. It'll be like the shadows on the light side of my face. It should be okay. Again, I'm constantly pushing and pulling. You'll see as I work that I keep changing these colors, I keep pushing these colors, finding the middle blends. The transition on the cheek is definitely more pink. Trying to find a couple more places in the photograph where that pink might work. Not just putting one color in one place. Later on, those light colors that are in the shadow side of the face are definitely too strong. You'll see me tone them down. I end up painting a lot of color on the face today, trying to fine-tune some of these details, but I'm still only using this big medium brush because that brush is allowing me to work quickly, and I can always come in at the end and fine-tune some of that. And you'll see I fine-tune a little bit in the eye and I fine-tune a little bit in the lip later on, but mostly I'm sticking with this brush the whole time. Looking for different light and dark and shadows. Where the planes are rounded, like on the forehead, I'm trying to smooth and blend those together. Where they're hard and bony, or just separate things, like on the nose, I'm definitely trying to keep those colors a little more crisp. Since I'm blending wet into wet, I can actually get the shadows and the light to blend a little when I want to. I can also halo some of the darker things with a slightly lighter color. Constantly looking, pushing, looking, pushing. This is how I want you guys to work. I want you to be thinking about what you're doing. For the lips, I'm starting with a blacked red, so it's a red mixed with black, and then you'll see as I work, I will start to punch it up with some pink colors, putting that black red in the nostril and in the corner of the eye a little. Reshaping the eye again. I felt like the eye was the wrong shape and the corner needed to drop faster, and that's actually going to end up being kind of like my eyelid. I didn't love the way the eyebrow was, so I'm literally going and painting over it with some skin color. Trying to push back and forth. Always trying to think about and paint the light. Noticing how on the chin and the lip and the lower cheek, it's not quite as bright as the side of the face and the side of the nose. Those are the brightest parts. Notice how many times I'm pushing and pulling in the same area. I didn't just do it once and I'm like, okay, I'm done. Or do it once and say, all right, let's move on to the next thing, do that once. And my paint's starting to build up thicker and thicker as I go, which makes it stay wet longer and longer, which allows me to blend more and more. Okay, I'm going to actually start getting into the detail of the eye here. Using an almost black, I'm mixing brown and black so that it's not too aggressive. Painting a little pink, red kind of rim on the lower eyelid. Using that same color or lighter version of that color to punch up the lower lip where it's catching more light, and add little bits of color into the upper lip. Even at the end, coming in with some almost white later on, you'll see. My old picture is slightly blue looking. In an attempt to get rid of the glare, I kind of turn the lights off and let some of the natural light from the window light my work while I'm working, so there's no glare. The only problem with that is that natural light is very blue usually, so it kind of changes the color a little bit. My final picture that I take of this should be a little better than that. So trying to figure out where the iris would go and where the pupil would go and building that kind of together. One thing you'll notice when I paint the iris, I just painted the pupil, but when I paint the iris, I'm literally going to push back on that. So the blue is going to kind of come into that, and then I'll paint it, clean it at the end so it's not, so that white part, so that the black part has a nice shape again at the end. But I kind of want to put all that little texture in the iris the whole time, and I don't want that texture to just kind of like not go up to the black. I want to kind of push it right up to the black and on the black a little, and then just reshape the pupil at the end. Lots of color, back and forth, adding, subtracting, getting that rim of the iris a little darker, getting that light on the far side where the light is reflecting through the lens and kind of lighting up the far side. It's almost like the opposite side has light in the eye because of the way the lens bends the light that hits it. So I'm trying to think about that. Repainting the rim of the eye because some of that got messed up when I was doing the iris also. And this is not pure white here. It's still a light gray because when I looked at my picture, there were some pure white highlights in the actual white part of the eye. And I wouldn't be able to see white highlights if it wasn't gray. If it was really white, and you wouldn't be able to see white highlights, they would just blend in. So because I can see that stuff, I know that those things are not white, that they're light gray, and so that's how I kind of painted them. Here I go kind of reshaping the head with some background color. In my photograph there's a window, but beyond the window there's some plants that are really far away and out of focus, so I'm kind of using green and splotching in different colors of green to make it seem a little more realistic, like out of focus plants way off in the distance. Where there are going to be gaps in the hair, I'm literally filling that all in, and I'll go back and paint the hair on top so that the green shows through the gaps. I don't want to actually try and carefully paint around each hair. I think it's better to just paint the whole background as if there's no hair when I have gaps like that. So all those flyaways, all that loose hair, that stuff's not gonna show. I'm not gonna paint the background individually around it. I'm just gonna paint it as if it's not there. Finish laying in the background. A little bit of red got on there because I smashed my whole painting into my palette. As I pick it up, it's covered in paint on the back, but that's okay. I wiped it all off. Trying to imply, stuff off in the distance, out of focus. almost treating it like an abstract painting. Last thing I'm going to paint like a blackish brown that's watered down and try and lay in her eyebrow. Doing my best to get it right. Might have to pull back on it again later. Really just trying to look and paint the best that I can. Using water to kind of soften some of it. So that's 60 minutes of work that I'm expecting from you done in about 45 to 50 minutes. So when you guys get to work, you really got to get a lot done because this is your second time working on this. That means you've put 120 total minutes into your project already. And we're only going to have 2 more classes, so 2 more 60-minute sessions. And if you look at mine, I've got some things to work on. My other eye, the shadow side of my face, fine-tuning everything, the hair. I haven't even touched the hair or the body. So there's a lot of stuff for me to work on. So I've really got to get a lot done this time if I want to be successful. This is my second day of painting, my progress check 2. And there'll be 2 more progress checks, actually, and then 1 work period. So I lied to you. We'll have 3 more 60 minutes after today. So today's your second 60 minute. There'll be a total of 5, but 4 of them will be for points. But really buckle down and get as much done so that when you go to in on the final day, all you got to do is fine tune it, shift it, add those little sweet pops of light and highlights, and define some things at the very end. All right? Have fun and do your very best.